Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor. Super excited to be here in the month of July. Wow, we are into the second half of 2021, and I'm super excited that I'm going to get a chance to have an amazing conversation with a guest who is doing great things in the East Coast. Let me introduce you to Miss Tanya E. Hood. She celebrates being a wife, mother, entrepreneur, and proud native of Washington, D.C. As an entrepreneur, she has developed a full range of strategies and actionable steps to help her clients make meaningful impact both personally and professionally. Now, her book entitled Red Alert, Is He the One? Pocket Guide to Finding the Love of Your Life, and the companion workbook deepens the insights that she provides her clients and shares solutions to help navigate the hurdles hindering them from making life-altering changes. Now, as one who understands the importance of financial empowerment in relationship, Tanya also teaches clients how to develop networks, build allies, and strategically utilize resources and learn the process of lease options when it comes to helping her clients, yes, get that money in order to, yes, empower themselves to establish sound real estate investment strategies. So I want you to help me welcome to the Christie Taylor Show, none other than our special guest on today, Miss Tanya E. Hood. Let me get that right. Hi, welcome to the show, Miss Hood. How are you on today? Let me add her to the show. Oh, wow, this is amazing. Super excited to have you here on today. How are
Thank you.
you? Hi.
Well, glad to
You know,
be here.
and I have to confess, this is going to be a very interesting show for all my guests. You know, we have an opportunity to have amazing conversations, but your storyline, everything from the red alert to real estate investing and making money to help build relationships. I'm like, there's so many questions I have. And since I'm very inquisitive, I just want to dive right in. First of all, you're in my birth city, or I should say, we are both natives of Washington, D.C. And I told you prior to our show that I was born there, moved down south in 72. And you said, what? That was,
That's the year I was born.
so I want to say salute to you, my native DCN. What do they call them now? What do we call people from? Well, of course, Chocolate City, but
Well, we're not called Chocolate City anymore. It's
oh,
just
seriously?
Washingtonians now.
Washingtonians. Okay, then. Well, Washingtonians. Well, we salute everybody from the DC, Maryland area. I have family up there. Looking forward to joining some of them very soon in 2021. But first of all, let me just say thank you so much again for coming to the Christie Taylor Show. And I would love for you to just give me a little bit more about your storyline that led to Red Alert.
So, Red Alert, Is He the One? The Pocket Guide to Finding a Love of Your Life is birthed from the aftermath of my divorce. I
Wow.
got married in 21. And after 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. And when I
Mhm.
did an autopsy of my marriage, I had some lessons that came out of it that I wanted to make certain that I share with others because stepping on those landmines is not pretty, and I didn't want anybody else to walk through it either.
You know something? You've said a mouthful. Autopsy of a marriage. Break that down.
Well, we don't often pay attention to how much it takes to be married. Marriage, okay,
Hmm.
I just said I was 21. So in my mind, marriage meant growing together, expanding together, which is part of it. But
Right.
more of marriage is how you interconnect to grow and develop the other person. You have to make a deliberate decision to
Okay.
enhance one another along the way because we
Mhm.
grow at different levels. And I
Right.
didn't know enough then, but I learned later that there's a whole lot that you go through in being a 20s than you do in your 30s. And then when I reached my 40s, I got a new revelation. So,
Hmm. So, what were some of the things? I know number one, we want people to buy the book. We want people to buy the book, but what were some of the key things from your 20s to your 30s into your 40s that you unraveled within your marriage that led to the divorce and that also led to the lesson?
So, what I did not know during the marriage is why I had to do the autopsy when I got divorced. Your 30s make you pay attention when you got to reset. I had to reset my life. I did not like dating the first time around. So, to find myself at it again was disheartening. And going through that with two little people, I had to protect my kids. I'm a mama, and you want to make sure that they're okay. So, what did I do that made this relationship, in my mind, just tu- uh, just tumble, fall? But it takes two people to keep a marriage together, and I wasn't fully aware of that. But what I did was look at what did I do, and I was clear about one thing for sure: I did not know me. When you do
Mm,
not have enough clarity of who you are, you will allow others to put you in a position where one, you lose yourself, but two, you're
mm.
never fully present, which is what's needed to grow and be whole.
Wow. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, she's now doing freelance web design. She has two little boys, 8 and 9 years old. And in that conversation, because I hadn't spoken to her in a while and she was just calling to check on me, I said, "Are you still married?" And she indicated, she was like, "Yes." And she said it, yes, yes, yes. And then she indicated there was a lot of prayer and a lot of marital counseling that has been holding them together. And I remember just in that conversation, we were candid that, we all come to relationships, friendships included, with
Right.
so many different variables. And it's oftentimes in the relationships that we unpack those things.
Mhm.
So without having to super delve into it, what was the biggest lesson you personally unpacked in the "I do not know myself" bag?
Well, there are core strengths that everybody brings to the table, and I didn't know mine. I'm an
Mm,
electrical engineer by discipline, a project manager by trade. My logical, analytical mind is a strength. But I was led to believe that when I was asking questions to gain clarity, I was being nosy. And when I was trying to be strategic and develop a plan, I was just doing too much. If I knew before then that those were strengths of mine, I would have been in a better position to enhance my relationship. Instead, I spent a lot of time in that relationship defending my position, trying to make certain that you really knew what I had. And then after a while, I gave up and gave in. And then I lost more of me in the process, which was
mm.
detrimental.
I love being smart. I like being a smart girl. I have enjoyed that from grade school or elementary school. We used to say grade school back in the day. Now it's elementary school. I enjoyed the smiley faces, the stars that the teachers would give, the A pluses. I love when the report cards had all excellent. So when you enter into a non-academic space called life and secondary called friendships and relationships, there's not always a person there to grade you with a smiley face. And as you noted, sometimes being the smart person in the room can be a setback because everybody else can see it as a negative and not as a strength. So, how did you work that core muscle post divorce to become who you are today? And I love the fact that you are the reset queen. I was peeping some of your social media. So, as the reset queen who has pushed that reset button a couple of times, how did you, Tanya E. Hood, Tanya E. Hood, don't get that right. Tanya, how did you end up building it as a strength and not a weakness?
Well, one of the things that happened when I got divorced, I was unemployed because of all the devastation and the crap that happened during the divorce. So I was stuck in a two-bedroom apartment with my kids, unemployed, trying to figure it out. So that was a major reset. I had to get confidence in myself. And I discovered three basic things. And this is the premise that my book is based on as well. You have to have a relationship with yourself in order for you to have a better relationship with others. And all of that comes together when you have a relationship with a being greater than yourself. Because I had to tap into that third one in order to get clarity about the first one, to do anything about the second one. And when I finally asked God, how? Matthew 6:33 was a scripture that was laid at my feet to give me insight. And it says simply, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. Well, I needed a lot of things. So I'm like, okay, God,
Okay.
are you modest? What exactly does it mean? And can we start with a job? Well, that year was also the year that I gained new employment doing the project management position that I now carry because it fit right in the middle of my strengths. So, what God did first was reaffirm my strengths. He
Mm-hmm.
allowed my engineering degree to be appreciated, my
Yeah.
project management skills to be applied. And at that job, one of the things that they have done that I really appreciate was to give you some insights and some training. And one of those trainings was called Core Strengths because I was looking for my strengths, right?
Right.
This particular training gave insight from three perspectives because I need things simple. I may be an electrical engineer, and there's nothing wrong with being a nerd, but I am a dyslexic nerd.
Oh,
So
wow.
I need things simplified in order for me to truly grasp it. And when I have it, I have the unique ability to simplify and organize and structure that, which is what I do when I coach and teach. So when I took core strengths, they have the premise of 3 points: a focus on people, process, and performance. And from those strengths, I discovered being analytical is a strength. When I focus on being supportive, it's a strength. When I decide I need to walk through the path of meeting a metric, a goal, it's a strength. And so I became a certified assessment coach with that company to share this information with others. And then the, the courses were developed, the workbook was enhanced to support the Red Alert Diaries pocket guide. And I got more understanding of who I was along the way.
Wow. I just really wanted to say that this is beautiful how when we surrender, and I love your verse of scripture, you say, when seeking first the kingdom of God, all these things will be added. And you're like, God, I need a lot of things. you know, so in that seeking, being able to identify that and God affirming, first of all, who you are as an individual, and then being able to, out of that professional expertise, also develop who you are on the inner. And when it comes to your book, Red Alert, let's check it out. Now, you have had the joy of post divorce,
Mm-hmm.
finding your niche again in your profession.
Yes.
But Red Alert, is he the one?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tanya, you remarried. I would love to know the story.
Here's the story. My husband and I have two different versions because I was in the middle of resetting again when he showed up. I was not getting married again. I was not doing this. My whole goal at that point was to just strengthen my business and be the best support system I could to those around me and teach as many people as I could what I learned so they won't have to step on the landmines I had already navigated. And
Mhm.
so I joined a business at that time, which was a financial structure business. One of the things that I learned from my grandmother, she's an entrepreneur, so that's where my entrepreneur spirit came from, was rehabbing homes. But I did not like to do all of the full gut rehab pieces. My part was the little fixer uppers and little things that I learned along the way. Because when you're a child in a household with entrepreneurs, you do whatever they need you to do. So I knew how to paint, put up drywall. I can put down a drop ceiling if I needed to. I can lay a floor, do basic electrical work, basic plumbing. So I learned how to acquire properties, do basic renovations that were small like that, and then lease them out. So that
Wow.
became my financial strategy.
Mhm.
Doing that, I wanted to support people with getting their credit together because when I was married, didn't understand the importance of credit, but I quickly learned because I went from a 736 credit score to a 526 credit score.
Wow.
That devastation financially is something I was not expecting because
Mhm.
even though I was maintaining some of the bills, when your credit score drops, they just
Yeah.
raise interest rates on stuff that you're not even late on. And I
Yeah.
couldn't afford it and I couldn't pay. So I
Mhm.
was like, what do we do now? Because I was relearning and resetting myself with core strengths, God was like, you got a skill set for this. Let's tap into
Mhm.
what that is. So I started doing more learning about credit restoration and credit building and financial services. And I started working through building up my financial services building, because if other divorcees with children were walking through this mess, we got to get through this as a faster learning curve, because them little people did not ask to be casualties of war. And when you go through a divorce, that's what it feels like. So my babies needed me to learn fast. My babies needed me to learn quick. So I did what I could. And going into that business is where I found my husband, who was my mentor to give me insight about how to do better business building with financial services. And I was just thanking him for his support, but I wasn't looking for them to do anything. Okay, thank you. Next.
That-
But he's
Wow.
also a native of Washington, D.C. So we seem to connect on all things D.C.
Mhm.
And in the book, it is a semi autobiography. So when you read the book, yes, he's the mentor telling me some things. And I'm like, okay, let me go over here and finish doing what I had to do, because God had to show me some things about being
Mhm.
a wife.
Yeah.
I was a wife. And that's the wonderful thing I love about God. He calls you who you are before you even recognize it. So I
Mhm.
had a Gideon moment. I had
Yeah.
already gone through fighting the army like he did with only 300, but it was just me and my two. So that's three. Works out okay with me.
That's the man. Mhm.
And then the next thing I was doing was gaining more insight. So the Proverbs 31 woman, God really unpacked that scripture for me. People think of her because it's back in the biblical days. And historically, when you look at the Bible, look at it from a historical perspective as well. There was a lot going on with her. She was a project manager. She was also a business owner because she went out and gathered things and brought them in. She was also a real estate investor because she surveyed a land and brought it together, which gave me the thought process, let me reset my financial legacy by building up lease options, supporting those that couldn't afford to get into a home with getting their credit together and moving through the process. So while I'm doing
Mhm.
all of this, he shows up. You don't
Wow.
have to go look for a man. God
Mm.
already knows who has intentions to build up what you are complementary for with one another. It is in
Yeah.
our complement that we are able to build a firm foundation. And
Mhm.
that's what I later found.
Wow. I am enjoying this story so much. Tanya, wow. You truly are a reset queen. I mean, you've been resetting, like reset, reset, reset. And I want to talk to you right after this break about why you feel it's important for us to not be afraid of the reset. And we're back. We're back again with our special guest, Miss Tanya, the reset queen.
Indeed, indeed.
Now, for some people, I have to confess that we can get on a path and we're like, I'm on this path and I'm sticking on this path. I started this path straight out of high school, out of college, or this is the career path. I know it's not working anymore, but I'm not deviating. Or you end up being hurled out of jobs or out of marriages and you just become embittered because it's like, I don't want to start over. I don't want to figure out a new way to think or be. But you are like proud about hitting that reset button because that's what it really takes. It takes being able to reset, to realign, to refocus. So, when and how did you develop the courage? Because you know what I'm talking about. Grown folk, once we get grown, it's like I'm locked in. I know it's not working. I'm going to stay stuck. But how did you gain the courage? Because it takes courage to reset. I would love to hear that.
Part of my courage came from having a belief in a being greater than myself.
Yeah.
Then the next thing I did, because I had finally gained confidence in my core strengths, was use my methodology called the three C's. And I write about this in my book. In the three C's, this is in chapter 5, you get more insight by one, gaining clarity. Are you clear about what's happening in this moment? And you must be honest with yourself because sometimes in our adulthood, we don't want to be honest to ourselves about ourselves so we can do better for ourselves. The next thing we need to do is Connect. Is this something that I need to connect more on? Do I need to move further into this moment? Or is it time to just close up shop?
Wow.
By doing that assessment, it takes the heart part out of it because we let our feelings lead us through the way, and there's nothing wrong with feelings. But there are moments you need to be certain that your mind has input into your actions because all of you got to walk through the trauma when you choose not to.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Wow. So, as the reset queen,
Yeah.
you have an incredible business that speaks to that. So, when you have a client, because someone might be watching, and yes, we're based in Memphis, but we're all around the world streaming digitally as well as broadcasting via podcast. And I want to find out if a person wanted to contact you, Tanya, and say, like, I need help getting up the courage, gaining the courage, or tapping into the courage to reset my life. How do they, first of all, do that? And what are some of the things that they can experience when they actually work with you?
Okay. So I shared earlier, I need things simple. Go to my website, tanyaehood.com. You can find all my various social media platforms and how you can work with me. Just click the Work With Me tab on tanyaehood.com. There is a signature course that I offer that goes through your core strengths. That is where we can maximize your learning skill set in a 5-week course that goes over what are your core strengths? How can you quickly assess conflict so that you can eliminate it? How do you go through some basic financial insights to give you the strategies that you need in order for you to maximize how to get to your breakthrough? And in that time period, we can just maximize and enhance what you have. I also have individual sessions that I offer, and you can look at those different pieces under the Work With Me tab. But there's one thing that I recently started doing during the space of the pandemic to help support people more because I found that there were individuals that needed some long-term solutions. So I've opened up a new annual subscription for a simple $4.97 a year where you can get unlimited coaching sessions from me. I give you a strategy, you apply it, and we go to the next question. Strategy, apply. Go to until you need it. Go through the process. That's as simple, and I like things simple because life is complicated. We simplify it so we can move through
Life
it.
is Now, Tanya, is that particularly for those who have worked through divorce, who need to bounce back through relationships, finding love, or is it strictly for a financial perspective and focus?
So I support individuals from a personal and a professional perspective. And it's not just divorcees. Divorcees are my primary target audience because I resonate more with the discussions that I have. When people hear my life story and recognize a divorce, that's a devastating point that has an immediate need that needs to be resolved now. So those are the people that I reach first. But just like my book is not just for females, my audience for my book is 60% females, 40% males because of the
Wow.
simplicity that I offer. Those are strategies and actionable steps that you can take as a person to get whole, to get clear, to eliminate conflict and move through the process of better communication.
Your husband, Mr. Hood, how
Yes.
has he, since he was your mentor, also helped you explore new aspects of yourself as a wife, which you celebrate, as well as an entrepreneur
So
and mother?
here's another beautiful thing I appreciate about my husband. The analytical nature that I bring to the table so that you can get the proper strategy tools and actionable steps. He was an editor of my book. That's why males and females can get the nature that they need out of it. He also supports me because I shared with you guys earlier. I'm dyslexic, so he reads over the course material. He gives me insight, and he is also a mental conditioning coach. How phenomenal is that?
Oh my God. What God puts together, I tell you.
Chapter
Amazing.
6, complimentary.
Wow. And how has it been being married again, older in life, compared to when you were 21?
So here's the thing, I did not have a problem if I knew some of the things I knew now with my first marriage. If my first marriage was that husband at that time was willing to grow as we grow. Sometimes we get stuck and get
Yeah.
put in the midst of our personal fears and anxieties. And if you get in a position and tie yourself with a man that is not really clear or confident in himself, you can lose who you are. So my marriage got stagnant. I think we would have made it if he wanted to continue to grow because we are growing, we are elevating. There are things that are happening with you physically that did not occur when you were in your 20s, when you reach your 40s or 50s or 60s. So you're growing. Your body is manifesting. Stuff around you, just knowledge in the fast paced world that we live in. A computer is outdated in 3 years. So you know you need to reset yourself personally.
Yeah. You need an upgrade. You need
You
an
need an upgrade.
upgrade.
Reset.
Reset. Press that reset button. I love it. Amazing. So, as a mother, as we come to the wrap up, what are some of your personal joys of motherhood?
My children taught me a lot of my best lessons. And whatever God is trying to get out of your soul, He will send you a baby to do just that. So, my mother told me, and I did not know these children existed, but apparently I have a get back baby. It's that
Uh-oh.
child that gets you back for all the
They
stuff
get
you apparently did to your parents.
you. I love it.
So you got to
Wow.
learn how to parent yourself. And you see your
Mm.
characteristics and some things in yourself that you're like, oh, okay, I need to retrain me so I can train you because my patience is like this big, shorty. You're not going to make it. You're going to see Jesus where you want to. Keep it up. No, but they
Wow.
taught me how to
I love
pay
it.
attention to the unspoken word.
Mhm.
They taught me how to gain insight into your inner turmoil, capture the lessons that you
Mhm.
need in that moment so that you can give it to someone else to be better moving forward. I am thankful for it. It was challenging, but I'm thankful for
Wow. This is a very rich conversation. I can't even call it an interview because I just feel so much of your passion
it.
and your spirit in this exchange. And I want to say thank you so much, Tanya. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
very
that.
much for sharing Red Alert. And thank you so much for sharing the greater work that you're doing. And of course, you all can definitely check out across the bottom the ticker and check out her website,
Thank
tanyaehood.com. She's on social media as well. And I tell you, this has been a very rich conversation. And if you're working through
you for
whether
having
it's
me.
relationship dynamics, professional dynamics, or even financial, you definitely want to connect with her. And thank you so very much for being here on the Christie Taylor Show.
Thank you for having me.